Welcome to Do the Dang Thing podcast with Chrissi Sperduto, the podcast that's like having a personal business coach in your pocket, giving you bite-sized tips and small mindset shifts every week. I'm your host, Chrissi Sperduto. I'm a network marketer turned productivity and mindset coach who grew her businesses while holding down a successful career in aviation. I'm on a mission to help you fit your business into everyday life. I believe you are capable of achieving success no matter how chaotic your life is. Consider me your no-nonsense guide to getting it all done. Join me here on the podcast each week where we'll chat everything from systems to help you fit your business into real life, to business and marketing tips, plus time management hacks, mindset shifts that can help you find the courage to take the next step in your business, and real life stories to inspire and empower you to go after your goals. Let's go, CEO. We have work to do. Grab your favorite cup of coffee or wine, no judgment. And let's get ready to ditch those inner mean girl thoughts ringing in the back of your head so you can embrace your inner badass and go do the dang thing. Welcome back to Do the Dang Thing. It has been so much fun seeing what you guys are doing while you watch or while you listen and hearing about how you like this format over a lengthy email each week. I am a big fan of podcasts, so I'm really excited to get to serve you in this capacity now. And this week I wanted to talk a little bit about the concept of aiming for 80%. And this is something that I've had to embrace in order to work both full-time and build a successful business. It's something that I feel like I've mastered, and I've been teaching my students to do this as well. And it takes a little while before your brain can really wrap its head around it. And it's really funny. I seem to work with a lot of perfectionists and recovering perfectionists because I think they're really attracted to the idea or like to my mantra of like, let's get shit done. And they want to learn how to do the same for themselves. So that's what today's going to be all about. And the problem that I really see with a lot of business owners is that they are burning themselves out trying to hit 100% in everything that they do. I'm here to tell you 100% is not the goal, because 100% is going to lead to burnout, to resentment, to not actually doing the thing. And it's going to take you so much time than 80% will. It takes you this much time, it takes you 4 hours to get to 80%, or it takes you 16 hours to get to 100%. And that 80% is good enough. It is going to move the needle forward. I learned a lot about this because I was always trying to make things perfect. I was wasting so much of my time trying to get to that 100% that I was not moving the needle forward on any of my goals. So if I can help you stop this cycle that I see so many people in and what I was stuck in for so long throughout this episode, I'm going to be a happy camper. I'd love to hear your wins or what clicks for you on social media. Tag me. DM me, whatever works for you. This really, the idea of 80% is a concept that I repeat over and over and over and over again to my students because it is so easy to slip into the, it has to be perfect mindset. But I'm telling you, the people that aim for B- work, the B- students are the ones that are taking over the world. They are the ones that are out there doing the things, learning, and every time that they hit 80%, put it out to the world, they learn something. And they put it out again at 80%, they learn something else. And eventually, their 80% is way above whatever your 100% could be because they have the reps in. This whole episode is going to be all about embracing that mindset, that B- work mindset. But first, let's talk about what perfectionism is. I like to say perfectionism is BS. As a society, we are so obsessed with perfection. In school, we're taught that we need to strive for 100%. We need to get that A. You need to have straight A's. Your parents probably gave you ice cream or posted your report card on the fridge for everyone to see when you got straight A's. Whereas if you got a B- or even a C, you were probably told, keep your head down, work harder, we expect more from you. Funny enough, my mom actually would bribe me to get A's, and what I didn't know was there was actually more to the story than just, she didn't really care that much about the A. She was trying to help me get scholarships, which would come from getting straight A's. And at the end, like, it was a means to the end. At the end of the day, she did help me save a lot of money on schooling, and so I can appreciate that. But there was definitely a mindset in my head that I had to get over of like, oh, I need to get straight A's. There's no other option. It's either an A or a failure. That's just not true. In a business, that's not true at all. A B minus work is really, really great work. So I think, and this is, feel free to dispute this, but I think that the B minus student is actually the smarter student because he or she is doing the minimum that they need to get that B minus. And then at the end of the day, they have all this free time to go out and do the things like sports, have family time, even relaxation time. They're the more laid back students, right? Where the A plus student has to be heads down for a significant longer period of time in order to go from that B minus to that A plus. And I know that this is true because I was the A plus student that every night I would not even think about going to bed until at least midnight because I knew that I needed to spend more time in the books, spend more time studying in order to make that straight A. Okay? And in business, what this translates to is you don't have enough time to get everything done. There are X number of things that need to be done, and you're only getting a third of them done because you're trying to do everything perfectly. Or you're trying to do everything yourself. Instead of accepting, hey, I could delegate that, someone else could get it to 80%, and that's good enough. So, when we are super worried about getting that A or doing it perfectly, it not only distracts us and takes so much more time, but it can sometimes put us into a freeze response. So, fight, flight, freeze, kind of the responses that you have to different things. We end up doing nothing when we're in a freeze area because our brain is like, oh, there's no way that you can do this 100% correctly. You don't know enough to do it 100% correctly. You probably shouldn't do it at all. Or at least that's what your brain wants you to believe. And what happens when we get into the freeze zone is that we don't do anything, right? We procrastinate, which then builds more evidence of, oh, you don't have what it takes to get this out in the world. Or, so it's either freeze and do nothing, or the other response is we work so hard trying to get that thing out into the world that by the time it's published, you're exhausted. And you need to take a break. You need to take a nap. And that stalls your progress too. I see this a lot with my clients when it comes to social media. They will go gung-ho for about a week, maybe 2 weeks, posting to social media. They do the reels. They have the perfect captions. They have all the call to actions. They have perfect carousel posts, beautiful carousel posts. And then they realize, this has been a lot of work. And I've gotten no sales from it yet. I'm tired. I'm going to just go ahead and take a break for a little bit. And I get it. They're exhausted, and they should be. If they had said, I'm going to do this messy, but I'm going to do it at 50%. They could continue to show up, learning what works, learning what doesn't work, what resonates with their audience, and their 50% would then become 60, and then 70, and then all of a sudden 80 to 90% would be easy. It would just be part of their identity. They are someone that publishes a post to social media every single day. But they have to lower the bar first to start. They have to get rid of this perfectionism mindset to start to learn to grow. And what we don't realize is that there is actually some psychology behind why our brain does this. So you have to first let go of fear. And you're like, fear? I'm not afraid. No, your brain is. You might not be afraid, but your brain is. So the biggest reason, one thing that you'll see with me is I'm not going to edit all of this. I'm not going to take a new take because I stumbled over a word. Like, if you remember anything from the last episode, just doing the dang thing, getting it out, getting it done imperfectly is what you need to strive for. And this whole aiming for 80% is also, like, the two episodes work so well together. And I would rather see you with a podcast that maybe doesn't make sense or has some ums in it or has, you tripping over your words, published and out to the world versus you wasting time taking another take. And let me be the prime example of that. Okay. back to what I was talking about. Perfect opportunity to give you a real life example. And so the reason why I see business owners not embracing this 80% rule is because they're afraid. Their brains are afraid. They're afraid of a couple different things. They have a fear of failure, a fear of judgment, a fear of losing control, a fear of rejection, and not really a fear, but comparison. They fall into the trap of comparison. So the fear of failure is when we equate imperfections in our work to negative outcomes. So I think this stems from school, honestly, of like, oh, if I don't get an A plus, I might as well have just failed. It's A plus or death. Because back in the caveman times, failure used to equal death, right? If you didn't catch the food caught you. And so it makes sense. Our brains are like, oh no, you can't do that because you are going to fail and you are going to die. Not really applicable. You post a reel and it flops, probably no one noticed, and you're not going to die, I promise. We also have a fear of judgment. So as humans, we are social beings. Social interaction really used to be vital for survival. We didn't want the pack leaving us behind, so we had to do things to make them want to, take us with them. And now we still don't want people to judge us or think bad about us, so we strive for perfection to avoid embarrassment or disapproval. We want the reel to be perfect. We want the post to be perfect because we don't want some stranger on the internet misunderstanding us. We don't want to be judged. Guess what? People are judging you no matter what. It doesn't matter. We also have a fear of losing control. So this is huge for business owners. I know many of us started our businesses to have control. Raise your hand if you have a strong desire to maintain control over every single aspect of your business. You micromanage and you obsess over every single detail to make sure that it's perfect. And there's no way someone else could do what you're trying to do the same way you're doing it, the perfect way, right? It's just not true. I'm sorry. You gotta lose that fear of losing control. You gotta get rid of it. You gotta show it the door and say, hey, we're gonna figure this out as we go. We're gonna release a little bit of control. Godspeed. We will be okay. We will not die if we lose a little bit of control. We also have a fear of rejection. So being rejected. So maybe one of your family members doesn't understand what it is that you're doing, or they're judging you, and someone rejecting your offer feels like sudden death sometimes. It can be rejection from clients, investors, partners, family members, and this fear of we don't want people to reject us can prevent us from taking risks and putting ourselves out there. And really we end up playing it safe, and we avoid rejection by not doing it at all. And then finally, not so much of a fear, but we have a really bad habit as human beings on the internet of comparing ourselves to others. The feeling of inadequacy is a real one. And the comparison game really can make these feelings of insecurity even worse. It can intensify the pressure to want to be perfect, to measure up to our competitors and what other people are doing. But we really just need to stop all this noise. And that's where the 80% rule comes in. You have to work hard to tell your brain, I am safe. I'm not going to die. It's okay if someone rejects me. It's okay if I look like a fool because I'm out here and I'm doing the thing and I'm figuring it out as I go. And by the way, did you know that some companies will intentionally put typos on their content to increase engagement? Yes. So stop worrying about, the right version of there or the right to put in there, and just put it out. Put it out. It's 80%. 80% and done is better than 100% and not done. Okay. I think embracing the mindset of I'm okay doing this messy because messy is how I learn and messy is how I can help people is really a game changer. And sometimes, to understand these concepts, we want to step outside of business. So I want to talk to you a little bit about weight training. When I started weight training, my goal was to start. I wanted to start messy. I didn't need to know all the answers. I didn't need to know what every single move that I might eventually do in weight training was in order to start. I didn't need to do all the reps, so I do the Peloton workouts. If it said do 8 reps, if I did 6, I was happy. I did not need to do all the reps when I started. I did not need to lift the heaviest weight. If she said pick up 20 pounds, I might pick up the 10-pound dumbbells. At the beginning, my goal was to get my butt up off the couch. And I was fine doing 50% of what the instructor was doing. And now, after months of practicing, I'm able to do 80% and I'm thrilled with 80%. But if I had said when I started weight training, oh, I can't set foot in the gym and embarrass myself until I can do 10 push-ups not on my knees, I would have never made it to the gym. I would have never ever started my weight training journey. Because you have to do the reps to get better. For me to learn how to do push-ups off of my knees, I had to go to the gym and practice push-ups on my knees and practice push-ups on an elevated surface. And then eventually, after months of practicing that, that's when I could start to do push-ups not on my knees. But I had to put in those reps first. Same thing in your business. You have to put out a bunch of shitty reels first before your reels are going to get great. Those people that are doing these awesome reels, they started with crappy ones. I promise you that. But they practiced and they put in the reps, and every time they did it, they got stronger, they got better. Okay? When I decided to launch my signature course, The New Business Roadmap, I had to do it messy. I created an outline, I marketed the program, and before I ever recorded a lesson or made a worksheet, I had sold 3 spots. And then I had students that were depending on me to do it messy, right? They didn't need the lessons to be perfect. They didn't need me to be perfect. They just needed someone that believed in them and that would continually come back and answer their questions and support them along their journey. And I know for a fact that the workbook with that course has so many typos. I have a few keys on my keyboard that actually stick and give me some issues. And so I know which keys to look out for and to go back and proofread, but sometimes I miss them. But a workbook that's published, that's out in the world, that has served many people thus far is better than that perfect workbook sitting on my desktop that no one ever got to see. I do not give a crap that my workbook has typos. That workbook, that course has helped create businesses. It has helped my students step out of their comfort zone and say, hey, I'm a business owner. This is my business and I know how to help you today. And hey, I don't need to be perfect to make a difference. Okay? When you decide, and it is a decision, that 80% is good enough, you are going to find that you will be so much more productive. You're going to have way less mental chatter in the back of your head. Your creativity is going to increase because you're not stifling it to try to get this perfect unicorn that is perfection. And you're going to learn so much more along the way. Your work is going to naturally get better because you put in those reps. So, a couple ways that you can overcome perfectionism today. 1, start with something small. Think of a social media post, a message to a potential client, an email perhaps. Set a realistic goal. If you're not posting it on social media at all, you probably aren't going to start posting 10 times a week. Start with 2. And then be kind to yourself in the process. If you miss a day or you find those perfectionism thoughts creeping up, get curious. Don't get angry. Don't get mean to yourself. Get curious and ask, why is this coming up? Instead of beating yourself up for being a human and having those thoughts. Your brain is literally doing what it's designed to do. Next, I want you to look to yourself for the answer. You probably don't need another course, another coaching session, another reel to go watch to motivate you. You just need to make the decision and go for it. And then celebrate when you do the dang thing imperfectly. Okay, I want you to take what you wrote down last week. If you missed last week's episode, go back and watch it. And if you did not do that action item that I left you with, so I said, pick one thing that's been on your heart and decide that you're going to do it. If for whatever reason you pick that one thing and you still haven't done it yet, I want you to think about, what if I only had to do this to 50%? or 70% or 80%? What if I didn't have to do this perfectly to do it? What if I could do it half-assed and it's still good? And I want you to ask yourself those questions and then go and actually implement what we talked about last week. So ask yourself, what would 80% for this task look like? And could I do it at 80%? All right. This journey, I'm just going to warn you, this journey is going to be one that you will walk along for the rest of your entrepreneurial journey. But aiming for 80% will get easier, and you are absolutely going to see the fruit of your labor faster than you imagined possible when you are okay with doing it a little rougher on the edges. I would love to hear your stories about doing the dang thing imperfectly at 80% this week. Be sure to tag me in your social media posts and stories about how it's going and what you're doing so I can cheer you on as you go. I will see you next week. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Do the Dang Thing podcast with Chrissi Sperduto. If you know someone that could benefit from today's chat, please send this episode their way. Also, I love to see what you're doing while you listen. Share what you're up to while you listen to today's episode and tag me in your stories at Chrissi Sperduto for a shout out. Plus, while you're there, hit follow for even more tips, behind the scene views of what I do in my business, and plenty of encouragement for you along your business journey. If you'd like to explore more resources and learn how we can work together through one of my online programs or through one-on-one coaching, head to chrissisperduto.com. Please always remember that you are not alone on this adventure. I am always rooting for you. Until next time, keep doing the dang thing. Bye!